All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to decode the Norwegian building regulations, specifically TEK-17. We're going to really zero in on one of the most important and sometimes confusing parts, the building footprint.
Look, my goal with this explainer is super simple. I want to help my fellow architects, engineers, and builders get a real handle on the TEK-17 standards. We're going to take what feels like a bunch of complex rules and turn them into simple, practical tools that you can actually use to design great, compliant, and efficient buildings.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with the fundamentals, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Then, we'll get into a really common trap: how things attached to your building affect the footprint. After that, we'll unpack the tricky rules for things like balconies, and finally, we're going to pull it all together and see how it works in a real-world example.
Okay, let's start with the basics. You know, getting these fundamental rules right isn't just about checking a box for the planning department. It's actually about finding ways to be more creative within the rules so you can design smarter from day one.
The big concept we're dealing with is called Bay-Bygd Area, or BYA for short. Put simply, it's the percentage of your land that the building covers. You can almost think of it like the building's official shadow. But as you're about to see, what actually casts that shadow gets pretty specific.
All right, on to our next section. And this is where we hit the first big idea that trips up a lot of designers: how one simple structural connection can totally change the math on your building's footprint.
Okay, so the core principle sounds easy enough, right? If it's physically attached to the main building, it counts towards the footprint. But trust me, how you apply this single rule can literally make or break your design's approval. Let's look at a perfect example.
This image just says it all. On the left, you've got a car parked in an open space. That space doesn't count towards the building's footprint at all. But look to the right. By adding a simple carport that's structurally timed to the house, bam! That entire area is now officially part of the footprint calculation. See? That one connection changes everything.
Now let's talk about things that don't even touch the ground, like balconies or overhanging floors. For these elements, it's not about being attached to the building. It's all about how much space is underneath them. It's all about vertical clearance.
So this is the question, isn't it? You design a beautiful balcony, it looks great on the drawings, but does it push you over your plot coverage limit? The answer? Well, it depends.
Here's the first part of the rule. See that height measurement, H? If the clearance from the ground up to the bottom of your balcony is less than 5 meters, then the area underneath it is not included in your BYA. It's basically a freebie.
But, and this is a huge but, the second that clearance H goes over 5 meters, the rule flips completely. Now, that exact same balcony's projected area is counted as part of the building's footprint. It's the same balcony. The only thing that changed was its height off the ground.
This is it. This is the number, 5.0 meters. It's the magic number, the line in the sand. It is the one thing that decides if your cantilevered spaces count against your buildable area. If you're designing in Norway, you have to burn this number into your brain.
Okay, we've got the two main principles down. Theory is great, but now for the fun part. Let's actually apply this stuff to a real-world scenario and see how it all shakes out. So, imagine this is our project. We've got a 500 square meter plot. The local zoning says we can build on a maximum of 25% of it. Quick math tells us our total allowed footprint is 125 square meters. That's our budget. We can't go over it.
So how do we stay within that 125 square meter budget? It's a pretty logical process. First, you calculate the main building's area. Easy enough. Then you add in anything that's structurally attached. After that, you've got to account for any of those cantilevered areas that are over 5 meters high. Then you just add it all up. And here's exactly how that second step plays out. If our design has this attached carport, we have to subtract its area from our 125 square meter budget. It's not just some accessory, it's a real part of the building's total footprint. Now, let's go back to that balcony. This is where you can be really smart. If we design it so that the clearance is, let's say, 4.9 meters, it doesn't count against our limit at all. This is how knowing the rules gives you so much more freedom. You can give your client that outdoor space they want without eating into your buildable area.
So, as we wrap this up, let's just boil it all down. If you only remember two things today, let it be these. First, if it's attached, it counts. And second, for anything hanging over, that 5-meter height clearance is the absolute end-of-story deciding factor.
At the end of the day, knowing these regulations isn't just about passing an inspection. It's about empowering you to be a better, smarter designer. It lets you create buildings that aren't just compliant, but are also way more efficient and intelligently thought out,
right from that very first sketch.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. With this clarity on footprints and cantilevers, how is this going to change the way you approach your next design? Thanks for tuning in.